because these two screens come up on our Zoom screen. These two windows come up, and it's distracting. There we go. In the sanctuary of our Lord's protection and the stronghold of our Lord's defense, with His love our spirits are illumined as we glorify His name. Our hearts are blessed. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, my friend. My friend. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, my friends. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, thank you for that, Nini. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone, and good morning, everyone out in Facebook land. Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well, whether you're watching this in real time or after it's been posted. And good morning, Andy. Andy wasn't with us last week, man. We're glad he's here. Yeah, and good morning, Vicki, and good morning, Sharon, and good morning, Artisher. And let's see, this looks like, I can't see it. It looks like Reva. I hope I'm getting that.
Hi, it's Reva.
Good morning, Reva. How are you?
Good morning, Reva.
I don't know. Have you ever joined us before, Reva?
No, but I listened to all the recordings after they've been posted. I'm in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina.
You're in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Wow.
But originally from Columbus, Ohio. So.
Well, let me ask you, how far are you from Orangeburg, South Carolina?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that. I'm very close to Charleston.
Oh, you're close
to Charleston.
Okay.
Yay, Columbus.
Yeah.
Okay. Did we say hello to Vicky?
Not yet.
Yeah, you did.
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, see,
Good
he's got age-related memory loss too. It happened more than 5 minutes ago. But good morning, everyone. We're so glad you're here. And good morning, Nini. How are you this morning? Okay, well, there you go.
Good.
There, I'm assuming that's a good screen. And how are you doing today, Daryl?
I'm well. How are you?
You're good. I'm okay. I have to give you the complaint of the week. I've got a little tickle in my throat, which just comes and goes, and it just comes and goes. And sometimes, like in the middle of that song, I thought I was going to have to cut it short, but it went away. So let's hope it stays away.
Oh, wait a minute. We just have to do a little parody here.
Okay.
Tony's got a tickle in his throat. It comes and goes. It comes and goes.
Oh, wow. It rhymes. There's our next song. We'll work on that for next week, Andy. Thanks. And I don't think I said hello to Jeremiah. Good morning, Jeremiah. And someone else came on. That's Terry McBride. Yes, Mr. McBride has joined us quite a few times. Good morning, Terry. How are you?
Aloha, good morning. How are you this wonderful, good day?
We're
Very
doing
good.
well, thank you. And my mother-in-law, Miss Mew Chu, she's off school. How you doing, Mom?
Good morning.
We're glad she joined. She's joining us today. Oh, so let's have a prayer. You know, I've often said that I have some of my prayers that are favorite prayers. Here's a prayer by the Bob that I love this prayer. I say it almost every day. O Lord, unto thee I repair for refuge, and toward all thy signs I set my heart. O Lord, whether traveling or at home, and in my occupation or in my work, I place my whole trust in thee. Grant me then thy sufficing help, so as to make me independent of all things, O thou who art unsurpassed in thy mercy. Bestow upon me my portion, O Lord, as thou pleasest, and cause me to be satisfied with whatsoever thou hast ordained for me. Thine is the absolute authority to command. And again, that is a prayer by the Bob. And so, as you know, if you've been joining us in the past few weeks, we have started on this book, Baha'u'llah and the New Era. Baha'u'llah and the New Era. And as I've said a few times in the past, it's a great book for anyone who simply wants to know more about the Baha'i faith. It gives you a real comprehensive view of the Baha'i faith, or for someone who may be you're already a Baha'i. I'm getting a direction here. You may already be a Baha'i, but you need a refresher, as I don't know about anyone else, but I always do. And I'm still learning new things. Because this is the first time I've read this book, even though it's highly, highly, highly recommended in Baha'i circles. So yes, Baha'u'llah and the New Era. And last week, at least in my book, we're still dealing with chapter 1. And we ended with, what was it? Fulfillment of prophecies. And we're getting into now proofs of prophethood, proofs of prophethood. Now, my edition is a little different from Daryl's. What page are you on, Daryl?
I'm on page 8.
And I'm on page 10. Okay, but proofs of prophethood. So, Daryl, if you'd be so kind.
So, Baha'u'llah asked no one to accept his statements and his tokens blindly. On the contrary, he put in the very forefront of his teachings emphatic warnings about blind acceptance of authority, and urged all to open their eyes and ears and use their own judgment, independently and fearlessly, in order to ascertain the truth. He enjoined the fullest investigation and never concealed himself, offering as the supreme proofs of his prophethood his words and works and their effects in transforming the lives and characters of men. The tests he proposed are the same as those laid down by his great predecessors. Moses said, "When a prophet speaketh in the name of the Lord, if the thing follow not, nor come to pass, that is the thing which the Lord hath not spoken. but the prophet hath spoken it presumptuously. Thou shalt not be afraid of him. Christ put in his test just as plainly and appealed to it in proof of his own claim. He said, beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. Wherefore, by their fruits ye shall know them. In the chapters that follow, we shall endeavor to show whether Baha'u'llah's claim to prophethood stands or falls by the application of these tests, whether the things that he had spoken have followed and come to pass, and whether his fruits have been good or evil. In other words, whether his prophecies are being fulfilled and his ordinances established, and whether his life work has contributed to the education and upliftment of humanity and the betterment of morals, or the contrary.
Daryl, I'm going to stop you there, and I just want to point out something that, well, first of all, I want to say good morning to Gilbert, good morning, Kim, in our Zoom stream. And it's not that this wasn't clear, but I just, again, want to really emphasize the importance that, down throughout history, and certainly throughout the history of, a religion, there have been, false prophets. There have been these, and even in recent times, times where, someone was able to garner a following and make, all kinds of outrageous claims, and people often following them to their death. And here is Baha'u'llah, who's saying, don't just take my word for it. Let's look at the facts, and again, without prejudice and without, I'll just say prejudgment, which is the same thing. Okay, but in other words, like you read, independently investigating.
Exactly.
Independently investigating and come to your own conclusions. Just wanted to, again, emphasize that. And you can look at, the volume of work that he revealed as far as the Word of God is concerned, and the example of his own life. And he's saying that this is the proof, this is part of the proof of prophethood. You can see their words and you can see the way they live their lives. So I'll go ahead and stop there.
So, difficulties of investigation, because not everybody's going to come to the same conclusions given the same information. So there are obviously some difficulties of investigation. There are, of course, difficulties in the way of the student who seeks to get at the truth about his cause. Like all great moral and spiritual reformations, the Baha'i faith has been grossly misrepresented. About the terrible persecutions and sufferings of Baha'u'llah and his followers, both friends and enemies are in entire agreement. About the value of the movement, however, and the character of its founders, the statements of the believers and the accounts of the deniers are utterly at variance. It is just as in the name of Christ concerning the crucifixion of Jesus and the persecution and martyrdom of his followers, both Christian and Jewish historians are in agreement. But whereas the believers say that Christ fulfilled and developed the teachings of Moses and the prophets, the deniers declare that he broke the laws and ordinances and was worthy of death. In religion, as in science, truth reveals her mysteries only to the humble and reverent seeker, who is ready to lay aside every prejudice and superstition, to sell all that he has in order that he may buy the one pearl of great price. To understand the Baha'i faith in its full significance, we must undertake its study in the spirit of sincere and selfless devotion to truth, persevering in the path of search and relying on divine guidance. In the writings of its founders, we shall find the master Excuse me, I need to back up. In the writings of its founders, we shall find the master key to the mysteries of this great spiritual awakening and the ultimate criterion of its value.
I'm going to stop you there, Daryl, because you said some things that I think we really need to think about. It gives us a description of, what should be our state of mind, shall we say, as we are seeking for truth. It says, truth reveals her mysteries only to the humble and reverent seeker who is ready to lay aside every prejudice and superstition. That's hard to do, but it's still necessary. I mean, our preconceived notions and so forth are often based on the societies that we've, grown up in, whatever we've been conditioned to believe. And we have a hand out there. Yes, Nini. And people won't be able to hear you, at least on the Zoom. So I'll repeat what you're saying.
Well, the hardest part is not they cannot put down their prejudice thinking. The hardest part is they don't know their prejudice.
Nini just said the hardest part is not that they can't put down their prejudice thinking. The hardest part is that they don't know their prejudice. That's deep.
Yeah, it is.
It really does take some self-awareness, and some admitting to self that we do harbor prejudices that we're not even aware of. But it moves on to say, we must undertake its study, and meaning to understand the Baha'i faith and its full significance. It talks about undertaking its study in the spirit of sincere and selfless devotion to truth. And if you put this on a test and you said sincere and selfless devotion to fill in the blank, I would dare say there are a lot of people that probably wouldn't fill in that blank with truth.
You're probably right.
They'd probably say a lot of other things that would be good sounding answers. And yet you have to have that devotion to truth. Really, again, withholding judgment until you've reached a plausible conclusion. And again, that's something to do, that's hard to do, not rushing to judgment, actually going through, studying and actually coming to conclusions based on truth. Okay, I'm done.
Unfortunately, here again, there are difficulties in the way of the student who is unacquainted with the Persian and Arabic languages in which the teachings are written. So language is a barrier here as well. Only a small portion of the writings has been translated into English, and many of the translations which have appeared leave much to be desired, both in accuracy and style. But despite the imperfection and inadequacy of historical narratives and translations, the greatest essential truths which form the massive and firm foundations of his cause stand out like mountains from the mist of an uncertainty.
Daryl, there's an asterisk there. You think you need to read that at the bottom of the page, that small print?
Sure.
Because at the time of this writing, it was applying to that time, to that day. This book was published in the early 1900s and has been, again, edited and, updated over time. So,
right. The footnote says there are now the incomparable translations by Shoghi Effendi from the Persian and Arabic of the writings of Baha'u'llah and Abdul Baha. These, together with his own considerable writings covering the history of the faith, the statements and implications of its fundamental verities, and the unfoldment of its administrative order, make the modern inquirer's task infinitely easier than in Dr. Esselmont's time. Dr. Esselmont was the author of this book.
I do want to say something about these translations and so forth. I mean, the writings of Baha'u'llah are still being translated. There's that much. As a matter of fact, just very recently, I learned this at the last feast that we went to, that very recently the Universal House of Justice just released some translated prayers of Baha'u'llah that heretofore had not yet been translated. So even now, Again, and this speaks to the volume of work in this revelation. Even now, there are still works that were revealed in Persian and Arabic that have not yet been effectively and authoritatively translated into English.
Okay, so the aim of this book, the endeavor in the following chapters will be to set forth, as far as possible, fairly and without prejudice, the salient features of the history and more especially of the teachings of the Baha'i cause, so that readers may be enabled to form an intelligent judgment as to their importance, and perhaps be induced to search into the subject more deeply for themselves. The whole idea here is the independent investigation of truth. And this says that. The search after truth, however important though it be, is not the whole aim and end of life. The truth is no dead thing to be placed in a museum when found, to be labeled, classified, cataloged, exhibited, and left there, dry and sterile. It is something vital which must take root in men's hearts and bear fruit in their lives ere they reap the full reward of their search. The real object, therefore, in spreading the knowledge of a prophetic revelation is that those who become convinced of its truth may proceed to practice its principles, to lead the life and diffuse the glad tidings, thus hastening the advent of that blessed day of God's will shall be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Yes, and there's a reference to the Lord's Prayer by Jesus Christ that we often hear referred to in Baha'i circles. So now,
it's time for a song.
What are you doing? It's only 10:22.
That's okay.
You don't think it's early?
No.
We'll talk about this after. Seems a little early to me, but okay.
We've got ground to cover.
Okay. Okay. Oh, boy. The name of this song is There's Always Time for Love, and it's based on a statement by Abdu'l-Baha that's attributed to Abdu'l-Baha, where he says, where there is love, nothing is too much trouble, and there is always time. Where there is love, nothing is too much trouble. Something's not right here. I don't know what it is, but something doesn't feel right. Does it feel right to you?
Yeah.
It does. I'm going to turn up the
drum machine didn't activate.
I don't know why, but it just didn't feel right for me. Sorry, folks. Where there is love, nothing is too much trouble. Nothing is too much trouble where there is love. Where there is love, nothing is too much trouble. There is always time. I know your days get busy, your nights can be so long. You make your head get dizzy when things keep going wrong. But there's a heavenly power to always pull you through. That's the power of love sent down for me and you. 'Cause where there is love, nothing is too much trouble. Nothing is too much trouble where there is love. Where there is love, nothing is too much trouble. There there is always time. Sometimes your problems pile up so high, makes you just wanna leave, clouding up your crystal blue sky and making it hard to believe. That's when it's time to remember that love is waiting for you. Hold on until the darkness is gone and love comes shining through. 'Cause where there is love, nothing is too much trouble. Nothing is too much trouble where there is love. Where there is love, nothing is too much trouble. There is always time. So remember, make time for love. Take time for love. Make time for love. 'Cause where there is love, nothing is too much trouble. Nothing is too much trouble where there is love. Where there is love, nothing is too much trouble. There is always time. Yes, there is always time. Yes, there is always time.
Hooray! Evidently, there was enough love to make the drum machine work properly. Hooray!
Well, I tell you, it was. I hope I stayed on time with that. It was. I have a visual display here that helps me out, but sometimes it's. Anyway, let's continue.
Well, of course, now, where there is love,
See, he doesn't.
Tony can stay on time.
Oh, see, that's now, Andy. We're gonna have to get a bouncer. We're gonna have to get getting heckled from the Zoom.
All right.
Anyway, continuing.
All right. So we're going to move into the next section here. It's called the Bob, the Forerunner.
Before you get into that, I think we need to talk. Now, obviously, this is going to talk about the Bob.
Of course.
You don't have to close the book. I'm not going to talk that long. But for anyone who doesn't have the book, the Bob is spelled B-A-B. Looks like Bab, pronounced Bob. And I did read this, but I believe it says it anyway. I'm going to say it anyway. It means the gate. That term, that is a title that in this case means the gate. Okay, I'm done.
me.
I'm done.
Could you?
Oh, you want me to read?
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
So it starts here with a verse from Baha'u'llah, from one of the tablets of Baha'u'llah, the Bab, the forerunner. Here's that verse. Verily, the oppressor hath slain the beloved of the worlds, that he might thereby quench the light of God amidst his creatures. And this was after the martyrdom of the Bab. Verily the oppressor hath slain the beloved of the worlds, that he might thereby quench the light of God amidst his creatures, and withhold mankind from the stream of celestial life in the days of his Lord, the gracious, the bountiful. And so the first subtopic here under the Bob the Forerunner is birthplace of the new revelation. And in this section, El Salmon goes into giving a description of what Iran was like in that day. Persia, the birthplace of the Baha'i revelation, has occupied a unique place in the history of the world. In the days of her early greatness, she was a veritable queen among nations, unrivaled in civilization, in power, and in splendor. She gave to the world great kings and statesmen, prophets and poets, philosophers and artists. Zoroaster, Cyrus and Darius, Hafiz and Firdausi, Sadi and Umar Khayyam, and I'll admit a few of those names I have not heard of, but Sadi and Umar Khayyam are but a few of her many famous sons. Her craftsmen were unsurpassed in skill. Her carpets were matchless. Her steel blades unequaled. Her pottery world famous. In all parts of the Near and Middle East, she has left traces of her former greatness. Yet, in the 18th and 19th centuries, she had sunk to a condition of deplorable degradation. Her ancient glory seemed irretrievably lost. Her government was corrupt and in desperate financial straits. Some of her rulers were feeble and others monsters of cruelty. Her priests were bigoted and intolerant, her people ignorant and superstitious. Most of them belonged to the Shia sect of Mohammedans, of Islam. But there were also considerable numbers of Zoroastrians, Jews, and Christians of diverse and antagonistic sects. All professed to follow sublime teachers who exhorted them to worship the one God and to live in love and unity, yet they shunned, detested, and despised each other, each sect regarding the others as unclean, as dogs or heathens. Cursing and execration were indulged in to a fearful extent. I had to look up execration. Basically, it's hatred, loathing, but cursing and execration were indulged in to a fearful extent. It was dangerous for a Jew or a Zoroastrian to walk in the street on a rainy day. For if his wet garment should touch a Mohammedan, the Muslim was defiled, and the other might have to atone for the offense with his life. If a Mohammedan took money from a Jew, Zoroastrian, or Christian, he had to wash it before he could put it in his pocket. If a Jew found his child giving a glass of water to a poor Mohammedan beggar, he would dash the glass from the child's hand, for curses rather than kindness should be the portion of infidels. The Muslims themselves were divided into numerous sects, among whom strife was often bitter and fierce. The Zoroastrians did not join much in these mutual recriminations, but lived in communities apart, refusing to associate with their fellow countrymen of other faiths. Social as well as religious affairs were in a state of hopeless decadence. Education was neglected. Western science and art were looked upon as unclean and contrary to religion. Justice was travestied. Pillage and robbery were of common occurrence. Roads were bad and unsafe for travel. Sanitary arrangements were shockingly defective. Yet, notwithstanding all this, the light of spiritual life was not extinct in Persia. Here and there, amid the prevailing worldliness and superstition, could still be found some saintly souls, and in many a heart the longing for God was cherished, as in the hearts of Anna and Simeon before the appearance of Jesus. Many were eagerly awaiting the coming of a promised messenger of God and confident that the time of his advent was at hand. Such was the state of affairs in Persia when the Bab, a herald of a new era, set all the country in commotion with his message. And so now we're going to launch into a reading of the early life of the Bab.
So let's talk a little bit about this time.
Okay, sure.
Okay, this time obviously was not a good time for anyone in Persia to do anything other than walk the party line.
Mhm.
So for the Bab to stand out in this way really was a very dangerous thing.
You're right.
So what else do you think what was going on at this time? I mean, obviously it details things here, but can a society in such turmoil continue to exist, you believe?
Can it continue to exist? Yes. Can it continue to exist? Well, that's actually, I think I'm oversimplified my answer. I think it can go on for a long time, but it can do a lot of damage, and it can be its own worst enemy, and it can bring about its own downfall.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. We have a hand out in in the one person audience.
Whatever it is saying then, it's happening now still.
Yeah, actually to a lesser degree, but
Didn't catch what she said.
oh yeah, thank you. She said whatever what we just read then. Thank you, Andy, because I forgot. But what was happening then, but based on this description, is happening now. Yes, it still continues. But apparently, even though, I mean, obviously we're living in this time, and Baha'u'llah tells us that, yeah, things are always bad when a new manifestation of God comes. Okay, and that's why that manifestation of God comes at that time. And while Esselmont is speaking specifically to Iran, or Persia as it was at that time, called at that time, what we're told based on the Baha'i writings is that is why the manifestation of God
Absolutely.
goes to that place. And once the manifestation of God has arrived and that revelation has occurred and that dispensation is set in place, well, then you're going to have this ongoing process of building up or integration, shall we say, and disintegration. And so those two things coexist, and it's not like when the Bab came, okay, everything's beautiful.
Right.
Okay. It's no, he came to a terrible time, and while things start to build from that time, there's still, destruction going on, So yeah, and you're right, it's still happening today. It certainly is.
Maybe in a country like Israel,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, it needs people to stand out and tell them. It seems like Israel is the right person to do the defensive stuff, but the truth is it's not. And people need to accept that or look into it more often or look into it deeply. Why this happened?
And they can't hear any of that in Zoom, and that's a lot. But basically, Nini is saying, when this new revelation occurs, I've asked that question in different ways myself. Why is it that people don't? Why don't they at least investigate? Why don't they at least investigate? So it's always a good question, one to which I don't have an answer because I've asked that question many times myself. So do you think we should start into the early life of the Bab?
Yeah, that should be the last section we covered today.
Okay. Mirza Ali Muhammad. I'll say that again because that was his birth name. Mirza Ali Muhammad. Mirza is a title. Mirza Ali Muhammad, who afterwards assumed the title of the Bab, which means, as I pointed out, the gate, was born in Shiraz, in the south of Persia, on the 20th of October, 1819 AD. And there's an asterisk there that says that's the first day of Muharram, and that's in the Muhammadan calendar in 1235, but 18 AD. He was a Sayyid, that is, a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad. His father, a well-known merchant, died soon after his birth, and he was then placed under the care of a maternal uncle, a merchant of Shiraz, who brought him up. In childhood, he learned to read and received the elementary education customary for children. customary for children. At the age of 15, he went into business, at first with his guardian and afterwards with another uncle who lived in Bushir on the shore of the Gulf of Persia. As a youth, he was noted for his great personal beauty and charm of manner, and also for exceptional piety and nobility of character. He was unfailing in his observance of the prayers, fasts, and other ordinances of the Mohammedan religion, and not only obeyed the latter, but lived in the spirit of the Prophet's teachings. He married when he was about 22 years of age. Of this marriage, one son was born who died while still an infant in the first year of the Bab's public ministry. Now, there is a little footnote here. We mentioned about the Bab's education. It says, in childhood, he learned to read and received the elementary education customary for children. But there's a footnote here that I think deserves attention. On this point, a historian remarks, the belief of many people in the East, especially the believers in the Bab, and now Baha'is, was this, that the Bab received no education, but that the mullahs, in order to lower him in the eyes of the people, declared that such knowledge and wisdom as he possessed were accounted for by the education he had received. After deep search into the truth of this matter, we found evidence to show that in childhood, for a short time, he used to go to the house of Sheikh Muhammad, also known as Abid, where he was taught to read and write in Persian. It was this to which the Bab referred when he wrote in the Book of Bayan, O Muhammad, O my teacher. The remarkable thing is this, however, that this sheikh, who was his teacher, became a devoted disciple of his own pupil. And that the uncle of the Bab, who was like a father to him, whose name was Haji Sayyid Ali, also became a devout believer and was martyred as a Babi, a follower of the Baba, his nephew. The understanding of these mysteries is given to seekers after truth. But we know this, that such education as the Bab received was but elementary, and that whatever signs of unusual greatness and knowledge appeared in him were innate and from God. I think that's important that we point that out. Okay, so we'll stop there and begin next week with declaration, where we'll talk about the declaration of the Bab, or read about the declaration of the Bab. And right now, as always, we like to take some time and allow anyone who wants to offer up a prayer or reading or song of your choosing. This is that time. And of course, as always, I'd like to start with our Andy Murphy moment. Again, I do want to give a little update on Cambyse. Cambyse, we've been told, is doing much better. He's still, again, I think I might have said that last week, but I'm going to keep saying that. Keep praying for Cambyse. We really do miss him in our programs here. But right now it's time for our Andy Murphy moment. Andy, do you have something to share with us today? He's muted, so he's probably saying, why, certainly, or something like that.
Why, certainly, yes.
Okay, Andy, please.
Whoops. Just a second. I need to. All right. Now, can you hear this?
Yes, we
Yes.
do.
O Son of Spirit, with the joyful tidings of light, I hail thee, rejoice, to the court of holiness, I summon thee. Abide therein, thou mayest live in peace forevermore. O Son of Eve, make mention of me on my earth, that in my heaven I may remember thee. Thus shall mine eyes and mine be solaced. O Son of Man, submission to our command, and humbleness before thy
Andy, that was beautiful, but I hope you'll do it next week a little bit louder so we can really hear the words. It was gorgeous.
Well, thank you so much, Andy. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm not sure that I have control over my outgoing volume, but I'll play around with the parameters and see what I can do.
We heard you well on this end. Oh, we're over here where we are. So, is there anyone else who would like to share a prayer or reading at this time? So please feel free to do so. Well then, at this time we will continue.
I guess it's too late for me to say anything.
It is never
No,
too late.
not at
No,
all.
please do feel free.
I mean, yeah, I had to unmute myself.
Oh,
Okay. O thou kind Lord, these are the servants who have gathered in this meeting, have turned into thy kingdom, and are in need of thy bestowal and blessings. O God, O thou God, manifest and make evident the signs of thy oneness, which have been deposited in all realities of life. Reveal and unfold the virtues which thou hast made latent and concealed in these human realities. O God, we are as plants, and thy bounty is as the rain. Refresh and cause these plants to grow through thy bestowal. We are thy servants. Free us from the fetters of material existence. We are ignorant, make us wise. We are dead, make us alive. We are material, endow us with spirit. We are deprived, and make us the intimates of thy mysteries. We are needy, enrich and bless us from thy boundless treasury. O God, resuscitate us. Give us sight, give us hearing. Familiarize us with the mysteries of life, so that the secrets of thy kingdom may become revealed to us in this world of existence. We may confess thy oneness. Every bestowal emanates from thee. Every benediction is thine. Thou art mighty, thou art the powerful, thou art the giver, and thou art the ever bounteous. Abdu'l-Baha.
thank you so much, Terry. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to share?
I would.
Please.
Okay. This is kind of in honor, I guess, of the many souls who have passed and people who are approaching death. I would like to read this writing from Abdu'l-Baha. As to the question whether the souls will recognize each other in the spiritual world, this fact is certain. For the kingdom is the world of vision, where all the concealed realities will become disclosed. How much more the well-known souls will become manifest, the mysteries of which man is heedless in this earthly world. Those he will discover in the heavenly world, and there will he be informed of the secret of truth. How much more will he recognize or discover persons with whom he hath been associated? Undoubtedly, the holy souls will find a pure eye and are favored with insight. Will in the kingdom of lights be acquainted with all mysteries and will seek the bounty of witnessing the reality of every great soul. Even they will manifestly behold the beauty of God in that world. Likewise, will they find all the friends of God, both those of the former and ancient times, present in the heavenly assemblage. This writing just gives me a lot. It's not a lot of comfort.
Thank you so much, Kim. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to share? Well then, at this time, we always like to point out, every week we love to point out that this is not just, two guys who decided to get online and teach about the Baha'i faith. We're simply doing what all Baha'is are admonished to do in a variety of ways, whatever you're capable of doing, and I would dare say, within your comfort zone. But it is not just us. It is a group effort of different communities. We are coming to you through the kindness, as far as streaming, particularly through Zoom, the kindness of the Clearwater Baha'is, clearwaterbaha'is.org, for which we are always very, very appreciative. And for anyone who wants to either, learn more about the Baha'i faith or find some authoritative websites where you can learn more about the faith. And what I thought about that when you were reading and talking about, misinformation that gets out there.
Right.
That's why we keep pointing out these authoritative websites. There are others that are not authoritative, okay? And some that actually mean to do harm. So this is why we like to point out every week that there are websites that you can go to learn more about the Baha'i faith. And those websites are
www.baha'i.us, www.baha'i.org, www.bahaiteachings.org, or if you happen to be in the Tampa Bay area and want to link up with the Clearwater Baha'is, you can go to www.clearwaterbaha'is.org.
Yes. I'll put that back right now. And I think I just broke my wife's plant. Oh, yes, and there's a program that comes after this, and we always forget to mention it. This is why it's so good to have her here. But yes, on clearwaterbaha'is.org, there is another program where they have teachers that are very knowledgeable regarding the Baha'i faith, and they often talk about basically ways that we can apply this faith, apply a spiritual approach to our modern lives. And one of those very, 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 very knowledgeable teachers is actually with us in the Zoom. He joins us on a regular basis, Mr. Gilbert Hakim. And it's always great to hear him speak. Clearwaterbaha'is.org. That's, just like you found this. If you're here through the Zoom, it's clearwaterbaha'is.org. And if you want to join that class immediately after this at 11 o'clock, once again, clearwaterbaha'is.org. So,
Let's roll. So, what I have to tell you is that normally I ask people to share the love at this point in time. But I was thinking this week about the society that we live in, and the society is all about labels, and when you really think about it, those labels very often bring about divisions as opposed to bringing about unity. So I'm not going to just ask you to share the love this week. I'm going to ask you to get rid of all of the labels that you might believe are associated with you, except for one. And that one label that I want you to keep for yourself and for everyone that you encounter, because it just really makes it that much more easy to share the love. That one label is count yourself as human. And I think if we do that, a lot of the walls that we build up as a result of all the other labels that we assign to ourselves, those walls all come down. So this week, don't just share the love, be human.
We're going to have to make this short. Have a good week, folks. O people of justice, be as brilliant as the light and as splendid as the fire that blazed in the burning bush. The brightness of the fire of your love will no doubt fuse and unify the contending peoples and kindreds of the earth. Whilst the fierceness of the flame of enmity and hatred cannot but result in strife and ruin, we beseech God that he may shield his creatures from the evil designs of his enemies. He verily hath power over all things. Let your vision be world embracing. Let your vision Have a good week, folks. Hope to see